Ladies and gentlemen, call it a heartbreak in Montreal. The Montreal screw job. You didn't screw Brett. Brett screwed Brett. Did we just change talking about television programs? Okay, all sports entertainment jokes aside. What a heartbreaking loss for the Montreal Canadiens, you know. We always like to say that there are different kinds of losses in sports, and in particular, in hockey. It hurts less to lose 5-0 in a game where your team got dominated, you didn't have a chance, you started out slow, you got beat early, and you ended up falling 5-0. You just rinse it out and you move on, right? But in a game where the Montreal Canadiens were down 3-0 to the Philadelphia Flyers, in a game where they rallied back in the second period to get the 4-3 lead, in a game where after having the 4-3 lead, they ultimately lose 5-4 in a shootout. That is the worst type of loss imaginable. It's a heartbreak in Montreal for the Canadiens as they lose 5-4 to Rick Tocchet and his Philadelphia Flyers on this Tuesday night. And man, there were absolutely stories and great parts of this game that we can attribute to. I don't want to do the entire, here's every single goal that was scored in the contest, because there were 8 goals and a shootout winner scored. We'd be here all day if we were to spend time talking about every single goal. But I just want to talk about the narrative. You see, the Philadelphia Flyers got off to a quick 3-0 start in this hockey game, in the first period, mind you. And I wasn't glued to the screen whilst this game was going on and starting out. I had the notifications on my phone, of course, and I was bouncing around between Montreal, Philly, and Edmonton, Dallas. I was also doing some chores, so I was a pretty busy guy here. But the Montreal Canadiens were down 3-0 in the first 7 minutes of the game, and Samuel Montembeault ended up letting in 3 goals on, I think it was 5 or 6 total shots. Yes, some of these goals came on the power play, and yes, you can say that maybe not all of these goals were Montembeault's fault directly, and all Trevor Zegras behind the back spin passes aside, a game like this and the goals like these, they absolutely do not help anybody when it comes to defending Samuel Montembeault, because I'll admit he got better as the game went on. Ultimately, he lost in the shootout. But Montembeault, after letting in 3 goals on 5 shots or whatever it was, he ended up stopping 36 of the next 37 total shots. Yeah, that's right, Samuel Montembeault faced 40+ in this hockey game. The Montreal Canadiens had half the amount of shots, and they were able to get this game to a gosh darn overtime and shootout. Okay, I say that wrong. They didn't get the game to a shootout. They lost the lead and ended up going to a shootout afterwards. But this game was so rough for Samuel Montembeault in the opening parts of it that you started to hear Habs fans cheering every time the guy made a save afterwards. The sarcastic energy of a hockey fan base that's fed up with their starting goalie is unmatched, and we saw that here in Montreal. Again, it's not like Montembeault was directly responsible for all the goals. It's hard to blame him if he can't stop a cross-crease one-timer. It's hard to blame him if he can't stop a backdoor tap-in. But at the end of the day, he's supposed to be Montreal's starter. And as we had spoken about earlier in today's show, Jakub Dobeš is doing so well that he's one of the frontrunners for the Vezina Trophy, according to PHWA writers who are voting on the awards at the 10% mark of the season. Dobeš has been so good, Montembeault has been so-so, and Canadiens fans were really starting to let Monty hear it. And ultimately, I'm not going to say that the sarcasm was, necessary, but I can understand where it comes from, you know? Jakub Dobeš has really earned his spot on the team, and he is probably the most confident, inspiring goaltender that the Habs have to offer at the moment. And the other guy, Montembeault, let in 3 goals in 7 minutes to open up this game against Philadelphia. The second period, though, is when Montreal started to come alive. Opening things up, you had Noah Dobson tossing a puck towards the goal after a failed attempt on net by Brendan Gallagher. He launches it, it ends up bouncing off the end boards, back out on the far side, and Kirby Dach is there to bury the puck and get Montreal on the board. That's Kirby's second goal of the season, assisted by Dobson and Gallagher. And all it takes is another minute after that for Montreal to get on the board again. Habs on the power play, this is where we start to see that extremely talented unit step back out there and manipulate their opponents like crazy. Nick Suzuki over to Caulfield, to Demidov, in a prime shooting position on the hash marks, but instead of taking the shot, Demidov holds and he passes it back across to Nick Suzuki, who fires it into the open cage. What patience, what poise, what composure from Demidov to not shoot at a prime shooting angle. Instead, take another second to draw everybody in before sending an easy feed across to Nick Suzuki. Kirby Dach then ties the game about 10 minutes later after that. It's Lane Hutson with some shimmy, shammy, shaking, baking to get by the forechecker Jacob Gauthier. He then walks down low, centers it back around on the near side, and Kirby Dach is there on the doorstep to chuck the puck in. It's a very beautiful move by Lane Hutson to set this one up and totally take out the forecheck there. Tie game! All it took was 13 minutes for the Montreal Canadiens to bring this one back to evens, and then 2 minutes later, on the power play, this is a goal that I absolutely loved because I have Demidov, Slafkovsky, and Hutson all on my fantasy team. It is Hutson who fumbles the puck a little bit at the blue line, but he ends up forcing it over to Slafkovsky. One touch pass to Demidov, comes down the wing, he fakes the pass across, and instead fires it into the back of the net short side. What a beautiful goal by Ivan Demidov for his second point of the night, and for Lane Hutson to get back out there with yet another assist on the season. He saw the Mike Matheson Norris Trophy conversation being brought up on our channel. He was like, yeah, no, I want to put my name into that hat too. That's exactly what he did here on this play to keep it alive. Slafkovsky with the beautiful pass, Demidov the beautiful finish. And Montreal has the lead after succumbing 3 early goals in the first period. And then Nikita Grebenkin scored his first of the year in the third period. It was a long shot, kind of beat Montembeault at a weird angle. There were a lot of bodies there. It's not like he was totally screened, but it was just kind of a weird play going against the grain of the momentum of the goalie. For some reason, Montembeault was sliding to the left. But that's the game-tying goal. Overtime doesn't see any results. Demidov got a penalty in overtime. And it's ultimately Trevor Zegras who scores the game winner in the shootout. Nick Suzuki had a really beautiful chance to tie things up in that shootout, but he ended up getting poked by the stick of Dan Vladar, who's a really big guy. Like, when Cole Caulfield was coming in to shoot on Vladar in the shootout, Caulfield kind of galloped towards the slot area before stopping up and assessing his options in tight. At that point, I was like, oh, that's not going in. Like, look at Cole. He stopped up, no speed, no stick handles or anything. He's trying to snipe it on Vladar, who looks like 3 times the guy's size. It's so contrasting, the size difference there. But Montreal, in a game where they had it, they lost it. They had a really bad deficit at the beginning, but they end up clawing back and scoring some points to make things interesting. It's a heartbreaking loss for the Montreal Canadiens on a night where Ivan Demidov shows off a lot more of the talent that makes him a legitimate Matthew Schaefer competitor for that Calder. If you enjoyed this video, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as to how you thought the game went. Also, what are your thoughts on Montembeault? Likes are appreciated, dislikes are also appreciated too. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.